In a quiet neighborhood, a teenager named Zaid spent most of his days scrolling through social media, playing video games, and hanging out with friends. Zaid was born into a Muslim family, but over time, his connection to Islam weakened. To him, the faith seemed filled with endless rules: praying 5 times a day, fasting, dressing modestly, and avoiding certain activities. Why does Islam have so many restrictions? Zaid often wondered. It feels like living under a cave, surrounded by walls of rules that suffocate freedom. Zaid's routine reflected his thoughts. He rarely prayed, never opened the Quran, and ignored the Prophet's Sunnah. He found comfort in the distractions of the world, believing they were his escape from what he saw as the burden of religion. One day, Zaid's friend Ahmed invited him to a youth gathering at the local mosque. Reluctantly, Zaid agreed, more out of politeness than interest. At the gathering, a speaker, Brother Hasib, shared a story. Imagine, Brother Hasib began, a young man trapped in a dark cave, feeling as though he has no way out. He's scared, hungry, and confused. Suddenly, a light appears, showing a clear path to safety. Would he ignore that light, or would he follow it? The audience murmured in agreement, and Zaid listened intently. Islam is not a cave. It's the light leading us out of the cave. Hasib continued. The rules we see as restrictions are actually guidance to protect us from harm and lead us to a fulfilling life. Allah says in the Quran, "This is the book about which there is no doubt, a guidance for those conscious of Allah." Surah Al-Baqarah 222. Zaid felt a pang in his chest. He realized that he had been living like the young man in the cave, confused and lost, but rejecting the light offered to him. The turning point came a week later, when Zaid's grandmother fell ill. She was a woman of deep faith, always reciting Quran and making dua for her family. On her hospital bed, she called Zaid to her side. "Zaid," she said weakly, "life without faith is like a bird without wings. You may feel free, but you'll never truly soar. Don't let this world dim the light Allah has placed in your heart." Her words struck Zaid deeply. For the first time in years, he opened the Quran that evening and read a few verses. Tears streamed down his face as he realized how far he had strayed from his faith. Zaid began making small changes. He started with 1 prayer a day, then gradually built up to 5. He learned about the Sunnah and implemented simple practices, like saying Bismillah before eating and sleeping on his right side. At first, it was challenging. His old habits and doubts tried to pull him back, but he reminded himself of the light in the cave. He sought knowledge, attended Islamic lectures, and surrounded himself with friends who shared his desire to grow in faith. Months later, Zaid's life had transformed. He felt a sense of peace he had never experienced before. The burden he once associated with Islam felt like wings lifting him closer to Allah. One evening, Zaid stood on his balcony, looking at the stars. "Ya Allah," he whispered, "thank you for not giving up on me, even when I gave up on myself. Your guidance is the greatest blessing." From then on, Zaid dedicated himself to helping others rediscover their faith, just as he had. Islam's rules are not burdens, they are blessings. They guide us through the darkness of life's challenges and lead us to peace and purpose. Even if we stray, Allah's light is always there, waiting to guide us back. We only need to open our hearts and take the first step.